My name is Joan Woodard, and I'm the hearing examiner this evening. The purpose of this hearing is to allow me to receive evidence and testimony on the matters that are pending. I make my recommendation only to the county commissioners. I do not make the final decision. I will be submitting my recommendation to staff within 2 weeks of this evening's hearing. The application will then be scheduled for deliberations before the county commissioners. If you wish to give testimony, I need you to fill out one of the sheets in the back, and when you come to the podium, please give your name and address for the record before you begin your testimony. If you're listening in on Zoom, we need you to raise your hand in the hand box, and you'll be recognized at that point. First, staff will introduce the application, then we will hear from the applicant. After the applicant's testimony, we will then get into the public comment sheets. We will hear from those who are in favor, those who are neutral, and then those who are opposed. The public not speaking will be read into the record. We will then give the applicant and/or representative an opportunity for a rebuttal of any testimony stated into the record from the public before we close the public hearing. After that point, we will receive no more testimony. The time limits are 30 minutes for the applicant presentation, 5 minutes for public testimony, and 15 minutes for applicant rebuttal. I would ask that you direct all of your testimony to me and not to the audience. Are there any questions regarding these proceedings tonight? Not hearing any, we will launch into our case for this evening, which is case number CUP 20-0004, and Vlad is our presenter.
Thank you. Vlad Finkel for the record. I am the planner with Kootenai Community Development assigned to this case. This is a request for an extension of an existing both an RV storage and rental warehouse facility by Nielsen LLC. Just a minute, I'm having a bit of an issue switching. Here we go. The subject parcel of land is located, it's 5 acres in size, and it's located north of the city of Apple, east of Highway 95. The current zoning is rural, and the comp land designation is transitional. The subject parcel of land is located within the city of Apple area of city impact, and the city of Apple area impact requirements are that the county solicit comments from the city official and give them an opportunity to comment. We haven't solicited comments as required for code. However, to date, we have not received a response on this matter. The subject parcel of land is located within an existing plat, and it gains access via a 60-foot easement through the adjoining parcel to the north, onto a private road, Trinity Lane, and then onto Roberts Road to the east. There is an existing storage facility to the north of this site and one to the south. The original request by Mr. Nielsen was reviewed and approved by Community Development back in August of 2018. At the time, the applicant requested a total of 6 small buildings that would total approximately 17,400 square feet with a total of 94 units. However, subsequent to that, through the site disturbance process and through further review, staff determined that the request to actually construct the buildings was different from what was originally contemplated by the applicant. Through numerous discussions and an agreement with the applicant at the time, what the county agreed to is that we would allow them to proceed through a minor modification process with which the code does allow to deviate from the original approval and grant them an opportunity to have something slightly different than what was originally approved. And what the county agreed to in April of 2019 was to consolidate the total number of units that were 17,400 square feet to 2 new buildings, which would total approximately 22,600 square feet. But what we advised the applicant at that time is that we would only grant this modification if this was the total number of buildings, total 2, that could exist at this time, and if any further buildings were to be constructed on this property, the applicant would have to come back and proceed through a major modification process where staff would analyze the proposed expansion, analyze the impacts, and appropriate mitigation. And the request before you today is essentially to review that expanded use of the site with 4 additional buildings, where the applicant is now requesting 4 more buildings with a total of approximately 30,000 square feet and additional 54 units. So the expansion process had gone through the same review, and this is the newly proposed expansion plan with 2 large buildings to the south of the existing ones and then 2 more to the west, which are slightly smaller. We did solicit comments from the same agencies as we did last time. These are some of the photos of the existing buildings on the property. And through the review process, the comments were very similar from the original review, where the building division, of course, stated that new buildings would have to be reviewed through the building review process. The health department had no concerns because this would remain as unmanned with no office site with all the business transactions done online. Timber Lake Fire Department had comments about additional fire suppression, including more fire hydrants. The Idaho Department of Water Resources stated that they do have an approved water use permit or water right permit. And as I stated before, City of Apple had no comments. Now going back to the comments from the Lakes Highway District official, the same concerns were raised this go around as they were with the original request. And the Highway District officials stated that they are concerned over the grading and dust abatement and gravel leaving Trinity Lane onto Roberts Road. So in an attempt to address this issue, we contacted the applicant and we advised them that we felt that it was important to address this issue and that somehow, if there is no road maintenance agreement in place, one would need to be recorded to put the responsibility on the future maintenance of this road. The applicant had advised us that they would discuss it with the adjoining property owners and the 2 businesses that are to the south and to the north and bring back a road development agreement, which in fact they did bring us a proposed road maintenance agreement. However, to date it has not been signed by any parties and it has not been recorded. One of the conditions of approval that we placed on this request is that the applicant does come back before issuance of any further development permits, whether it's a site disturbance permit or a building permit, should the application be approved, with a signed and recorded document in place. However, as you have read through the staff analysis, this is a bit of a peculiar situation that we're facing. And the reason being is that the impacts to Trinity Lane associated with the dust issue and then also grading is a cumulative impact of the adjoining businesses that utilize this road. We don't have any legal measures on our end to enforce it on an existing business, nor can we pursue it through any review or code violation process because these are established businesses and perhaps they were approved without this document. But this is the only option that we have at this time, is to place the responsibility on the current applicant who is utilizing this road to somehow address the maintenance issue of Trinity Lane. So the way the staff report is phrased with conditions of approval is to have a document in place prior to issuance of any permits, or if the applicant can provide any testimony to perhaps bring up another option, I would hope that the hearing examiner would also entertain that. And that's that for this specific issue. And last but not least, as part of my presentation, I'd like to enter into the record a late public comment that we received from Mrs. Eppers at the address of 6644 East Trinity Lane in Athol, Idaho. I believe she is present in the audience and she will be testifying tonight, but we would like to enter this into the record and it will be part of the file. I stand for any questions that you have.
I don't have anything for you right now, Vlad. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll hear from the applicant, Stephen Nielsen. Yes, please.
Okay, so a little unprepared. I was thinking our engineer was going to be here, so bear with me. But when we originally had presented this storage facility, we had proposed, like Vlad had said, a 94-unit complex. About a month into us getting the application accepted, the fire department had contacted us as far as having water suppression on site. We had contacted the city of Athol to see about bringing water to our property through their hydrant system. It was not going to be cost effective, as we would have had to pay for water to go from the new Super One basically all the way to our property. So we would have had to pay for everyone to get water prior to our property. So they had said, we would need to do our own well, our own fire suppression, our own, supply of water. So we had hired an engineer because we were trying to, do all this on our own. So our first proposal was that 94 units there. At that time, we had hired Scott MacArthur. He had worked with several other storage facility units. He actually helped design the one that's in Garwood, just down the road from us. And had asked us, hey, what's our idea? What's our plan with this? And I said, well, I'd like to cater to, boats and RVs. We have Bayview right down the road. A lot of people don't have storage for bigger items. And so he had redesigned our existing structure because most of the units that we had, he said, would be very tight for boats and RVs, and we actually would not be able to get quite a few of them in there, as most of our units, I think, were 20 feet in length. So he redesigned the system basically based off of the Garwood one that they had just done and had finished up. Presented that to the county, and 7 months later, we had approval, we had our pads done, we had the buildings ordered, had the fire, the design for the water system, everything done. It would cost us about $150,000 for the water system, and this was based off of the design right now that we're trying to get approved. So all of our fire suppression, the hydrants, the amount of water we have to have on site, the size of the pump, the motor, the electric, everything is built to work with these buildings. When we had applied for a building permit for them to come out when they inspected the pads, the county showed up, or their representative showed up, and was like, wow, these seem a lot bigger than what was originally done. And that was when they called us and said, hey, we didn't know that these buildings were this big. Our biggest hurdle at that time was we had already had the buildings ordered. The buildings were almost $400,000 a building. The metal was already being prepared across states, being shipped to us. The pads were poured, and the county said, we didn't realize the modification change. And it had been 7 months or so that the new design had been presented from Scott. So we were kind of in a pickle. It was, we either agree to accept the two buildings that we have the pads poured for and forfeit our other 4 buildings, or we would have been here today and we would have had material and all that expense sitting there on the ground, basically not be able to move forward. So we accepted their offer, moving towards the major modification to have our next 4 buildings built. The unit size is what's bigger. We actually have only 92 units in this current presented phase, our new phase, I should say. We were already approved for 94 units, so we're actually less units. The units themselves are just bigger in size. I know a big thing was, oh, the traffic and this and that. It's actually less traffic because we have less units. We've only made the units bigger to accommodate the bigger boats and the RVs. With that being said, the fire hydrants, everything that we put in, and we've gotten signed off with the Lakes Fire District. We have the PSI, we're actually above what we needed. We're above the water that's required. All of the infrastructure that's put in, like I had said, the power, the drainage, everything is all designed for this new set of buildings. Everything was done because that's what we were moving forward, and we hit that hurdle, like I said, 6-7 months into the process, and we kind of got caught. It's like, well, we have $500,000 out. We either accept this, build the 2 buildings, and then apply for the major modification, or we don't move forward on the buildings and wait. I mean, we were, kind of stuck there with trying to figure out what to do. So we accepted the major modification at that time, or the minor modification at that time, with the intention of moving forward to this meeting that we have here. As far as the dust control goes, I have reached out to all of the surrounding neighbors, have asked them, because there is an existing mini storage unit that has quite a bit of traffic. There is a rental property that has multiple RVs on it with lots of traffic, and then we have a couple residents, and then we have another boat and RV that is actually past my facility, which is accessed off of Roberts Road there, owned by the Hunts. I have gone to all of them and had said, hey, let's do a road maintenance, take care of the dust. We'll probably have to do an application in the spring, and then sometime in midsummer. There's, I think it was 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 residents. We'll split the cost 5 ways. Everyone pays for it. Everyone benefits from it. We only had 2 people of the 5 that would agree to that, the Hunts and the Farragut Storage. The other 2 residents said that they didn't feel they had to pay anything for it, but they were the only 2 that had given the most grief about the dust control. I understand I have, a business there, but like Vlad was saying, I don't feel we should be the ones that only maintain it. So not only that, but the winter comes and that road doesn't get plowed unless we plow it. Obviously, I have a business. There's residents that live there, so they have to get in. They just drive over the snow and keep packing it down. I had talked to Lakes Highway District about that road because they had shut off all of our entrances off of Highway 95 when they did the new highway through there, and basically made Trinity Lane the only access point to get to all of our properties. I asked them why that didn't go as a county maintained road, and they just said that it didn't happen that way, that it's a private road and it's on the residents that live there to take care of any maintenance, plowing, dust control, etc. So we paid our engineer to work up a plan, to work up a basically homeowners association, if you will, to do a maintenance for that road. I had suggested in person, that it would probably be about $100 a month for each customer or each resident to take care of the dust control and to do a few plows through the winter time and the grading when the potholes would occur. And like I said, only 2 of them would agree to be a part of it, and 2 have refused. July 7th of this year, I did have the road oiled between off of Roberts Road all the way to the end of Trinity, which actually is in between my property and Betty Epper's property, and then Hunt's property is at the end of the road. I paid for that out of my own money. It was almost $1,000, and we had the road oiled. We had also done that one time previously last year as well, and that was just out of us trying to work with everyone there and try to, you know, take the dust control. The issue now is Trinity, where my property is not accessed or has no, you know, issue with the dust control there, and that's what they're wanting to have me pay for, and that's the main road that everybody uses, all 5 residents. So at this point, I am willing to have an agreement where everyone pitches in and we have the road done once or twice or 3 times, whatever it needs to be. I have no issue with that. I have an issue with us having to pay for the entire road and private road at my expense. So, like I said, we're trying to work with everyone. Obviously, you know, development happens. We did get approval. Like I said, originally we were approved for 94 units. We're now trying to just get 92. The units are only bigger in size. And I guess that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
Have you approached the other 2 parties who were willing to go into the 5-way agreement? So there would be 3 of you, right? And asked if they will split it 3 ways now?
I haven't asked them if they would do 3 ways because they all felt that everyone should pitch in evenly. So,
Would you be willing to pick up 3 shares and they pick up their
I would be willing
individual
to
shares?
do that. You know, is it right or fair? No, I don't agree with it, but I would be willing to pick up the other 2 shares if that, you know, if that becomes a major part of this going through. Like I said, we've got a lot of money invested into this property. All the infrastructure, everything is done way above what these 2 buildings needed because it was designed for the 6. So, like I said, I mean, we put in a 8-inch case well because that's what was required to get what the fire department wanted to have for all 6 of these buildings, not 2. So we've got over 150 grand into just the water system to supply this facility. So if we don't get these other 4 units approved, it doesn't compute, you know, it doesn't make sense to have that amount of water just for 36 units. It just doesn't pencil out, so.
I see the problem.
Yeah,
Okay,
all right.
thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And now we'll go to public comment. First, we'll hear from those who are in favor. Do we have anybody on Zoom?
No, Madam Hearing Examiner, only staff.
Okay. And then those who are neutral. Looks like we don't have anybody for that either. So now we'll hear from the opposition, and I have Betty Eppers, who is opposed and wishes to speak.
Good evening. I'm Betty Eppers, and I live east of the proposed project. There is a road between said property and myself, and that is the one that he has taken care of and oiled. I mean, doesn't dust control, and I'll admit to that. And I'm against the project for these reasons. I guess I must have misunderstood, but I thought it was just for boats and RVs originally, not for units, like regular storage units. We already have the storage units of Ron Hughes's, and that's one of the big issues. He has 300 plus units, and all that traffic comes right down Trinity Lane. You know, 7 days a week, and that's a lot of traffic to have that many units. And I can see the boat and RV, you know, I'm not opposed to that. I'm just opposed to more single storage units because there's already all that traffic going down there. Okay, and I've already seen, but you know, I might have been mistaken. You know, I might not understood about they could put anything in the storage units that he'd already built. Because, I mean, there's U-Hauls, there's everything coming in there. You know, unloading four-wheelers on trailers, you know? And if it's just for boats and RVs, I don't know why all that stuff is coming in there all year. But like I said, I might have been mistaken. I don't know. Okay. And the process of moving the dirt, when they did this project, I don't know where the miscue was, but before they ever got the permit or anything, they moved dirt. And I mean, they moved a bunch of dirt. And they moved it over on half the property, and then they built on the other half. So now they got it built, and they got all this dirt over here on this other side they got to get rid of. I mean, mountains of dirt, not little dirt. And Jerry Hunt, south of me, he has a construction company. And he moved it, moved a lot of it this spring. I mean, for months he moved it. And it was the same thing, in and out, dust, dust, dust. He didn't care. He has a water truck, but he would not, absolutely would not put no water down anywhere. And I've worked construction for years, and I know that is something that's real necessary. When you're doing anything with dirt, is you better have some water. And I have lots of pictures, but I just didn't get them printed, I'm sorry. It's just one of them times. Let me think. Oh, yeah, I've approached the Hunts about the dust. You know, and they have closed-in cabs on their equipment. And they say there's no dust. It's like, you gotta be crazy, you know? It does no good to talk to them. And I've been kind of harassed by the Mr. Nielsen's. I don't think it's him, but I think it's the people that work for him. I have a lot of garbage. I have signs. I have plastic material that was on around their material to build with. On my property, the wind blows, water bottles, you name it. And then the topper for me was one thing. I came home one day, and he had put, I don't know if it was him, but they represent him. They had put no trespassing signs on my property. They walked on my property, put no trespassing signs on my property facing me. That really got me. It really did. There is absolutely no respect, no care. Well, I said the video camera signs, the water bottles, the plastic, all the trash, you know, and then the trespassing signs. And I'd like to finish, and I've started building a fence along my road. I have COPD. I've just quit because I can't do the dust. And it's just a free-for-all out there anymore. Everybody just does whatever they want to do. And Ron Hughes and Jerry Hunt, I believe they should have to go in on this dust control. I've asked them all. And I make $500 a month, Social Security. And I don't think I should have to give up $100 a month out of my $500. And that's my home. I'm sorry. That road, Trinity Lane, makes them a lot of money. And I'm not opposed to anybody making money. That's good deal. I love it. I like to make money. But I think they should have to take care of that because they don't live out there. They don't have to eat the dust. It's devaluing my property. And I've talked to Stephen before. We've had some good conversations, so, you know. And he thinks I should pay, and I don't think I should. and I think they make money off that road. And it's devaluing my property, and I really think they should fix it. I don't care if they pave it, let's just put some dust control on it. I don't care if it's got potholes, makes everybody slow down, you know? And as far as the snow goes, before he moved out there, my tractor was running, I plowed that road a lot. So it's just not, you know, they act like nobody else out there does anything, and that's not true. That's totally not true. There goes my time. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Nielsen, you have time for rebuttal? Well, wait just a second. Do we have anyone else on Zoom who wishes to speak?
No, Madam Hearing Examiner.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nielsen.
So as far as the dirt being moved off of the facility, we actually waited until early spring to have that moved. We waited for what we were hoping was kind of the least dusty time. When that dirt was all scraped over to the edge of our property, it was the middle of winter. Well, not the middle, it was, you know, towards winter time. We had moved the dirt to the side, got the buildings built, and in the spring we started to have the dirt hauled off. The dirt has to be removed just like at any other construction site, any building site, any development. There's always topsoil that gets scraped off and hauled off. I did inform, you know, the Hunts that when they were moving the dirt, hey, let me know if it starts getting dusty. Let's wait, you know, wait for a rainy day. We did try the best that we could, and we did have them actually water that roadway a couple times throughout, and that was actually last year when I came out and I did a dust control. It's a magnesium de-ice that helps, you know, keep the dust down. I came out and did that as well. So it wasn't that we weren't trying to, you know, keep the dust down, but like I said, if you're in any area, any development, there's going to be dust no matter what you do. We didn't do it in the middle of August where it's dry as can be and the most dust possible. We tried to, you know, work with the situation that we had, but yes, we did need to get dirt moved off. We do still have dirt on there. We haven't been moving dirt because it's been so dry. I could have had the Hunts haul the dirt off throughout the summer and just said, you know, hey, whatever. But we are trying to do what we can. Like I said, I can't control every ounce of dust. As far as the garbage goes, I can't control who drives up and down the road and throws garbage out. My facility, if you've seen it, we've had customers comment on how clean and how nice that facility is. We do the best that we can. We're out there at least once a week, check on things, make sure nothing, you know, is going crazy. And, you know, like I said, we really are trying to work with the situation, but it only can go so far to where, you know, then it's being unreasonable and unreasonable things asked of us. So I guess that's all I have to say about that. If you've got any questions.
Do you want to speak to the in and out traffic associated with the large units that you have now? Why
Yeah,
it seems
so-
like there's so
and-
much traffic?
There's not a lot of traffic for as far as I'm concerned, because I've looked to see, and yes, we did cater to a boat and RV storage. It was our plan. All of the new buildings are all still huge units. So we've had numerous calls for people, hey, do you have a 5x10 or a 10x10? No, we don't. We're strictly like a boat and RV. We have clients that have boats in there, a 20-foot boat in their unit, and they have some personal items or some four-wheelers or some dirt bikes. I can't say, hey, you can only have a boat or an RV. Yes, that's what we are catering to. That's why we went to the large units. I didn't want to deal with all the smaller units, all the, you know, 5x10, the people that are coming in a million times. A lot of our clients from last year that moved in November, that was when we opened the facility, brought their boats in during November, and I would say 70% of them didn't show up until springtime to take their boat or their RV out. It wasn't an everyday, you know, going in and out like a personal small storage unit facility would be. Yes, Ron Hughes has, I think she said 300 units. I don't know the amount of units, but they have been there for 20 years or better. That was what was approved. I am not interested in doing small units. We are just the large ones. Now, if somebody's gonna put household units in there, you know, household items in there, I can't say, hey, nope, I'm not gonna rent it to you because you don't have a boat or an RV. Yes, that's what it was designed for, but like I said, I'm not,
And
I can't control that.
presumably it would be cost prohibitive for
Yeah.
someone to use it
well,
just for.
exactly, yeah. And that's why we were, you know, like I said, it was designed for that. That's what we wanted, was because that area didn't have a big facility. Hughes, next door, doesn't have a lot of big units. They've actually referred several people to us because the few units that they do have that are large units that could take a boat or RV are already filled up. So affordable, I think it's affordable storage down in Chilco sent us a couple people. They had another lady, you know, that had a boat and an RV, and they had a car and they were moving here, and they wanted, you know, 2 big units to put all their stuff just into 2 units. So yes, there are household stuff in there, but we're under the requirements of what the fire department, you know, had us do. We have fire suppression system in there. We have the water on site. I mean, everything is built to cater to whatever you want to store in there outside of it being illegal.
So how many units do you have right now?
Right now, we have 36 units,
And how well occupied are they?
100%.
Since November, huh?
We had some vacate about 2 months ago. We had about 10 units vacate. A lot of them were, hey, I'm not working because of COVID. We can't afford to have our, you know, stuff sitting in storage. We're going to pull it out. In the last 2 weeks, we filled up those remaining empty units, and we actually have a waiting list.
Now,
So
don't you also have some open parking associated with this request?
I have my brother and I have our RVs that we had in units that, because we could rent them out. Because like I said, we have so much money out in the infrastructure and everything else. We were planning on already having more buildings done until we ran into this situation. We have to physically have every unit rented out, or try to have every unit rented out to help pay for the, you know, the payment that is on this facility. So we pulled our stuff out of our, you know, out of storage and parked it out there. I mean, I just don't have, like I said, if we can get it rented out and have the income from other people, then we'll do that, so.
But isn't your plan to also continue to have some outside parking?
Our plan right now is just to have the buildings done. Like I said, the only reason why we had a couple stuff parked outside was because we wanted to get those units rented out to get that income. I don't really care if my RV's, you know, sitting out in the weather. I'll throw a tarp over it, you know, when winter comes. If we did do an outside parking, I think we've only got spots for maybe 10 units, or 10 RVs or 10 boats. But it would only be, you know, like a boat or an RV. It obviously is not gonna be somebody's personal stuff sitting out in the weather, but.
And all the circulation for vehicles around your units is all gravel,
Yes.
right?
Yep,
And
we've gravelled everything.
what do you do with regard to dust within your property?
We actually, because it's new gravel, it doesn't have the dust that comes through. We haven't had any dust issues, but we would do you know, the magnesium dust control over it if we needed to. But I mean, if I just drove through there yesterday and I was actually watching to see if dust was coming up from my truck, but you're in a storage facility, you're driving 5, you know, miles an hour, if that. It's not like you're kicking up a lot of dust anyways, so.
And how
Our
about
plan
snow
eventually is
plowing?
to pave it. We
Are you
snow plow it, yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yep, we drive out there and we actually snow plow the entire road that accesses down to Hunts, and we go all the way out to Trinity, and then I make one pass coming out along Trinity. But like I said, most of our customers are boat and RV, and so they weren't really needing to get in there. We never had anyone call, hey, this road on Trinity is a mess to get into, and we've plowed the facility just so that we had, that available for the fire department if we should have a fire or anything like that. So we had it plowed all the way out to Trinity. Takes us like 3 or 4 hours and a couple trucks and a skid steer, and yep.
Okay. And since Trinity isn't county maintained, who's plowing Trinity?
No one. The Hunts sometimes. Betty said she did it, I guess, before we moved in.
But the storage facility down at the end of Trinity is not.
Nope. And there, and he's got, a lot of traffic. That's why I'm saying this issue that is with the dust and the traffic and the snow plowing existed before I was even there. And now we're there, and it's, hey, you should do all of it. It's on you. Doesn't seem right, but I'm willing to work with people and, pay my fair share, like I said. I just don't feel like it should all be 100% on me.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Vlad, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Just a point of clarification, Ms. Hearing Examiner. The status of that road is private, and this has, of course, caused...
Of Trinity or Roberts?
Trinity Lane is a private road.
Okay.
Now, typically when we review projects that are, whether it's a conditional use permit or any other land use application, such as a plat, zone change, or so forth, the maintenance of an existing private road that's off-site is rarely subject to our review or any conditions of approval, unless it's, for instance, for a platting process of a subdivision, whether it's minor or major. Then there are different requirements that are addressed through our code. When it comes to CUP, a zone change, a variance, or any other matter for that fact, except for a planning process, generally speaking, the road access issue or the maintenance of it is not something that we really delve into. As long as we can confirm legal access, that's where we leave it at. And because of this peculiar situation with the highway district, once again providing those concerns, and the neighbors, we do understand Mr. Nielsen's concern. And like I said in my original presentation, there has to be some sort of a fair way to address this matter, but we can't force, as a county, an existing business that's been in operation for decades to now step in and do what's right. And so the trigger point for us would be this application, because that's how the applicant intends to gain access. But yeah, this is a very peculiar situation that I personally haven't dealt with in the past on any other application with the county.
Thank you. All right. There being no more matters on the schedule tonight, this closes case number CUP 20-0004 and ends our hearing for the evening. Thank you, everyone.